We'll continue to look at this issue. As I said, I think many Victorians, including me, have finally decided enough is enough. As Andrew told us there, he's never seen Melbourne as dangerous as it is right now. So angry has the former Premier Jeff Kennett become. He penned a scathing Herald Sun column this week and last night went further on air describing the city he loves as being effed. He agreed to sit down with Sky News. I interviewed him earlier today in his office and started with asking the man who was Premier for 9 years if it was a bit over the top using the F word.
Yes, probably.
Do you feel that strongly that you had to use that word?
I cannot tell you how frustrated, disappointed I am at where we find Victoria today. I mean, we have so many things going for us as a state and as a country, and yet we are financially going down the gurgler very quickly, which is affecting all of our services. But worse, we've now got this lack of focus on actually addressing this lawlessness, which has almost become a competition between some of our young today, at great personal risk and price to people. So, am I frustrated? Yes. Should I have used the word? Probably not. But no, I shouldn't have used the word.
You and I are both old enough to remember a campaigning Herald Sun, and you were in opposition, and Joan Kerner was the Premier. I think they ran a black front page, basically spelt the end of Labor. This, I think, is Labor's ground zero on crime. You are most concerned about that. You talk in that interview about being afraid of your own safety, afraid of the safety of your grandchildren. I feel exactly the same way. How the hell has the beautiful city of Melbourne, once the most livable in the world, got to this point?
I think, without being overly political, it's because those we've given the opportunity and responsibility to look after our affairs, particularly our safety, have simply not done so. And so we now have a situation where, as I indicated a minute ago, in many ways it's become a competition between these young people out there, part of which I blame on COVID, disruption to education. You've seen the scores at schools, men down, lower than ever before, men, young boys, frustrated, no good at employment, out there trying to prove themselves. And it's getting worse. And sadly, the government doesn't seem to care. Now just think about it for a moment. 3 or 4 ingredients. You need a good government focused on your and my safety and our children. You need a police force that has the manpower and the powers. You need legislation to make sure that the judiciary understand what the options are and their freedom of choice and interpretation is limited. Right now, we have a situation where our police force is technically 2,000 under manpower strength. 1,000 less people and the other 1,000 on sick leave, etc., etc., with another 700 potentially to go before Christmas. The laws do not allow, current laws, do not allow there to be a strict guidance for those magistrates and others, and there should be.
Has the judiciary been politicised?
Oh, it may be, it may not. The point is the government should make sure they understand what the rules are. So I've come to the point now where I believe the only way through this is not to fix these issues of policing, government and the judiciary. We've got to go for zero tolerance. We've got to change the culture. But it's not going to happen overnight. You can do it over 2 or 3 years. But if anyone commits a crime, there's got to be a consequence. And importantly, the magistrates do not have a choice as to whether they give bail or not. The only choice I think they should have is whether their interpretation of the crime committed by the individual, partly dependent on their age and the nature of the crime, sends them to a prison farm or to a youth centre or to prison itself. They don't have the opportunity of saying you can go back on the street. And then you've got to give the police the powers and you've got to direct the magistrates and the judiciary that we're going to clean this up. But it will take 2 or 3 years.
The police seem directionless. They seem their morale is shot because they arrest a 15, 16-year-old who's broken into someone's house, armed with a machete. They take them to court and they get a bail. Not once, not twice, but multiple times. We can't live like that because these kids will say, I don't care if I get arrested by the coppers, nothing's going to happen to me.
That's exactly right. And I feel very sorry for our police. I mean, as I say, they're undermanned. There's no backup to them in terms of the law, and the government doesn't care.
Well, we've got a case this morning. Woman goes out to the garage. Her car's packed with her suitcases and passports. She goes back inside to get her children. They were going to the airport to go to Bali. She comes out, someone's got in the car and driven off.
Well, where is our government? Why isn't our government protecting us? Why isn't our government changing the laws as a matter of urgency? So some of these changes they're introducing, whether it's looking after our children's interests in childcare centres, doesn't come into effect till next year.
Machetes, you're not allowed to carry them, but you can until September 1.
Yeah, and then if you've committed a crime and you go up to one of those machete bins, having committed a crime, you can throw it in and say, I was only here to get rid of my
And they've spent $300,000 on 40 bins.
Whatever.
I mean, this is madness.
Well, it's worse.
But I don't blame you using the F word. It's madness.
It's worse than madness because it's affecting people's lives, it's taking lives, but it's actually affecting people's lives potentially for the rest of their life. In other words, you live in fear. This is not Victoria. This should not be Australia.
You and I are lucky. We're in our 70s. I mean, we've seen the best of it. But so many people of our age, when you talk to them, say, I'm going to get out of Victoria. Yeah. I'm not staying here. Yeah. I mean, when you add up, the new emergency services levy, land tax, all of that. I mean, when you got elected Premier way back, you realised that there was a huge debt. And you actually put a small charge on money going in and out of your bank account, and you said, I'll leave it on there until we pay off our debts.
Until we can get back into surplus, not till we paid off our debt. But no, and that wouldn't work today because the debt is heading towards $200 billion. So,
but you were prepared to take unpopular decisions.
Yes, but with due respect, this government doesn't seem to care. They're borrowing money without any sense of obligation to those who are going to follow. You and I'll get through our lives. Our children, our grandchildren won't. They'll have to bear that. But right now, our security is at risk. We're not living in a third world country. We're living in Australia. And the government doesn't care. So, yes, I was frustrated, and I publicly apologise for using the word, but that's how I feel. I am so pissed off.
Well, you're right to be. We have a poll out today that says Jacinda Allen, when they have an election next November, if it was held this weekend, she'd get re-elected. How is that humanly possible?
It doesn't worry me at all. I think if people were going into the polling booths to cast their vote, you'd get a very different result. And so they're all encouraged, or many are at the moment, about this concept of working from home for 2 days a week. How are you going to build houses if your tradies can only work 3 days a week? Who's going to teach our children? Or are we going back to a situation where our teachers will teach from home and our children will be at home? That was the cause, the lockdown, of so much of this violence today. Jacinta has thought of something that seems popular but is an absolute disaster.
And she can't even do it.
Well, she can't even... Well, but she may or may not. But she's not introducing legislation until next year, and so she can have the argument all the way up to the election. They haven't thought it through, but they don't care. It's all about them. It's not about you, it's not about me, it's not about our grandchildren.
Sad. Jeff Kennett, thanks a lot.
Pleasure.